Denver police are changing their strategy to fight fentanyl, a new way to track down dealers in this epidemic of overdoses that seems to be moving faster than our solutions. Our Anusha Roy looks at DPD's plans and skeptics' concerns.
This is Lieutenant Aaron Rebetrano, 20 years in law enforcement, 15 with Denver Police.
My worry is I have a high school age son. My worry is he goes to some social gathering, some party, and somebody comes with one of these pills and, you know, it's the last time you see your loved one.
His dedication is personal.
Experienced the loss of a loved one to addiction. It affects everybody immediately around that person.
Today we talked about DPD's newly created fentanyl investigation team, a team of 1 sergeant, 5 detectives, to try and disrupt the groups bringing drugs in Denver and investigate overdose deaths to find dealers.
The ultimate bad guy of drugs, this is it.
The team was created because of how bad the fentanyl problem has become, but also because of the new law that increases penalties for dealing fentanyl. But even those who helped write the law told us before how tricky prosecution can be.
You have to show the person who is distributing the pill knew it was fentanyl.
So the idea is to become experts in fentanyl investigations through a dedicated team, become familiar with medical examiners, district attorneys, and community partners, and hopefully move faster, since before investigators were split in a lot of directions.
But they're also tasked with dealing with neighborhood problems and neighborhood drug dealing. You know, law enforcement in the past, addiction was a crime, and that was really simple. Now we know it is a mental health issue, it is a substance abuse issue.
It's not enough of a change in approach for Lisa Ravel, though, with the Harm Reduction Action Center. We chatted over email today, and she wrote, "You don't get the cartel that way or even mid-level sellers. You only get low-level sellers who are also people who use drugs. And that prohibition, criminalization, and the drug market brought us fentanyl and will bring us the next synthetic opioid. We're already seeing new drugs off of the East Coast." It's bringing back familiar concerns now that knowingly possessing more than a gram of something with fentanyl is a felony. And Ravel said it's going back to trying to arrest their way out of the problem, which hasn't worked in 5 decades and ultimately takes away from people getting help.
You can't arrest your way out of some of these problems. It's obvious, and it's been tried over and over again. It just doesn't work. But removing those people who are dealing is important as well.
So we asked Denver Police more about that last worry about people getting in trouble who could actually benefit from getting help. They said they're not looking for people who are addicted or using drugs, and that they do approach people with resources, reiterating throughout the interview that that is going to be the key in this kind of situation, Kyle.
And Anusha, it seems like it really comes down to where resources are going to be applied and who specifically ends up being the target, right?
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, I was talking to Dr. Valek about this. He's kind of tapped across the state as a drug addiction expert, and he was saying that this does have the potential to streamline those investigations. It could actually help with prosecution, but ultimately it is going to come down to where do police draw the line? Who do they actually ultimately focus on? And then that is going to determine what are the benefits and what are the issues that come out of a program like this.
Anusha, thank you.
Tonight's next question is about specialized policing units, like the one involved in the killing of Tyree Nichols in Memphis. Connie asked us, does Denver Police have a squad similar to the Scorpion Squad in Memphis?
So, Scorpion Unit in Memphis, if you're not aware, was supposedly this elite group of cops working in high-crime neighborhoods, and it was disbanded after several of the members were fired and indicted for murder. We checked with some of the departments around the Denver area on their specialized units. Both Denver Police and Aurora Police do have similar squads. Denver Police calls theirs the Impact Team. They described it as a precision police unit that focuses on issues specific to each district. So it might be car thefts in one part of town, drugs and violent crime in another. DPD says that Impact Team's been around for 25 years. Aurora Police have DART, the Direct Action Response Team. DART focuses on felony arrests, homicides, car thefts, and drugs. APD says there are 11 officers and 2 sergeants assigned to DART. They use DART to target hotspots like Colfax and Beeler, where they've had shootings, drug activity, prostitution. After what happened in Memphis with its elite unit, police here say they know they're going to face scrutiny and concerns from the public.
Situations such as that occur, all of us, have to bear the brunt of it, regardless of whether we had any involvement or not, because the actions of few, essentially make all of us responsible. We are constantly conducting debriefs with our officers at the end of each shift for specific calls for service, to just kind of identify strengths, weaknesses, areas of improvement.
Aurora says it trains its DART team on de-escalation as well as bias in policing. Aurora Police told us that its DART unit has never had a single excessive force complaint. Other departments, so Westminster PD says it has a special enforcement team that focuses on guns, drugs, gangs, and high-level warrants. Castle Rock PD has a community action team that looks at data-driven policing and pattern crimes around their neighborhoods. Lakewood, Boulder, Littleton, and Arvada got back to us to say they don't have any special policing units like Memphis's Scorpion team. Democratic Senator Michael Bennet says TikTok poses an unacceptable threat to U.S. security. Senator Bennet wants Apple and Google to pull TikTok from app stores. Bennett's letter to those company CEOs says TikTok is collecting vast and sophisticated data on Americans. Bennett says that China could weaponize that social media network against the U.S. ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, has faced a lot of questions about what it does with its data and whether it's sharing data about Americans with the Chinese Communist Party. Bennett shares concerns expressed by government regulators in the U.S. that Chinese law allows that government to demand data from Chinese companies. There's bipartisan scrutiny on TikTok from Colorado's delegation in Congress. Just last week, Republican Congressman Ken Buck introduced a proposal that would ban the app from being downloaded on all devices in the U.S. It's a step beyond what Bennett's saying. Today, Buck announced that he's forming the Congressional Antitrust Caucus to hold big tech and monopolies accountable. Buck says that caucus will focus on bipartisan reforms. The volume of emails that we get every day about your expensive Excel bills prove that you want us to keep asking for answers from state regulators and Excel. And you know our Marshall Zellinger has been riding them like a rented mule for weeks. There are also community groups demanding action as well. And not just like progressive lefty groups as you might expect. The Libre Initiative is a conservative advocacy group working with the Latino community. Libre is a subgroup of Americans for Prosperity, the Koch brothers group that's been involved in all kinds of conservative causes. Libre says that Colorado's Public Utilities Commission isn't doing enough to hold energy bills down. They say the natural gas cost adjustment, taking the price down 15%, is not enough.
If you're on a budget and you're working, double and you feel like you're barely getting by, this new rate, is just like it's not a trend that families can sustain. It's not sustainable.
Libre is working to educate people on the process of how the rate increases work, like how PUC approves them so that people feel empowered to speak up, talk to regulators. We reached out to both Excel and the PUC about Libre's work. We didn't hear back.
Teachers say they're overworked. Schools admit they don't have the staff to support them. There may be a new solution. Denver's mayor is overseas for a trip to Africa. Brought a pretty large entourage on a trip that's not exactly cheap. And a liquor store is getting a makeover.
This is one of my favorite places to be because of its rich history and the cultures that have chose to call Aurora home.
It's becoming a hub for culture and art. Next.
"85% of Colorado's teachers told their union that schools are more understaffed now than ever. The union and state legislators have some ideas. Here's Cole Sullivan.
In Colorado classrooms, teachers are feeling the strain.
I feel defeated, like that I'm not doing best by my students. And I just feel really sad.
Denver special ed teacher Ellen Petrilla says coworkers are leaving faster than new ones can replace them. And there's only so much she can do to pick up the slack.
We within the school try to fill in those roles as much as we possibly can to meet student needs.
The state has some data to back up what Ellen's feeling. The Department of Education reports at the start of last school year, 1 in every 10 Colorado teaching positions was empty. Most of those jobs ended up getting filled somehow, but teachers say they still feel the pinch.
Normally you have a bit of a pipeline coming in, but many people are coming in and they're leaving, not staying as long.
The state has some ideas to help. This week, lawmakers advanced a bill to expand a program that helps pay off teachers' student loans. Denver's teachers union says it helps, but won't entirely fix the staffing issue.
When you talk to students, they don't necessarily want to go into teaching. They see what their teachers go through, and they often, say, oh, I don't know, I appreciate you, but I'm looking for something else.
The union wants more money to fund schools and increase teacher salaries, but attracting and keeping teachers is more than a budget problem for Ellen Petrilla.
I've seen education become more of a customer service role almost.
On top of salary issues, she feels like teachers don't feel appreciated, and that's keeping people away.
Sometimes it's easier to find someone else to blame And I think that sometimes teachers have suffered at that side.
So lawmakers want to extend the temporary educator loan forgiveness program. Do not confuse that, like I did, with the Colorado Educator Loan Forgiveness Program, which basically does the same thing. The second program just extended its application deadline for another 2 weeks, but Kyle, neither of them solve the problem of convincing people to become teachers in the first place.
You're saying the pipeline, though, of people coming into the profession is relatively stable.
The federal government has some data on that, and they say the number of people who are training to become teachers has stayed the same. It's the turnover rate that's just not keeping up.
All right, Cole, thank you.
Well, we're going to continue to see weather warming over the next couple of days, especially as we make our way into the weekend and those highs reach the lower 50s. Right now, we're at 28 degrees. It feels like 20 outside with winds coming in from the south at around 8 miles per hour. Now, a lot of the ice storms that were pushing their way through Texas are slowly turning into regular rainstorms as they move their way through the southeast. Colorado, right in the middle, we have a few days left of nice, sunny, dry weather to kind of make up for all of the extreme weather we saw last month. But as we go into the overnight hours, we're going to continue to see mostly clear skies, calm winds, overnight lows near 22 degrees. And then the weekend is going to be nice, a great weekend to maybe brush off that bike or those jogging shoes where we see lots of sunny skies, those highs maxing out in the lower 50s, actually above average for this time of year, where our usual highs this time of year are closer to 44 degrees. We do see change move in Monday, though. Right now it's looking like chances for isolated snow showers, those highs dropping into the seasonal realm. And then midweek we start to dry out again, those temperatures in the middle 40s.
I apologize, I wasn't paying attention. Hey, you want to go on a free trip to Africa with 20 of your friends? Fantastic. Just get elected mayor of Denver and you can go do that. Mayor Hancock's doing it right now. City delegation is visiting Ethiopia and Egypt. The city says the goal is to get direct flights that would connect Denver to Africa. Total cost of this trip, $108,000. The mayor's office says there are 21 people on this delegation, including the mayor. It's kind of a who's who of powerful folks in Denver. Some of his staff is there. You got DIA leaders like the CEO, Phil Washington. Then there's the executive director of Parks and Rec. There are the presidents of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce and Visit Denver and the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. So let's talk cash now. The plane tickets alone for this trip, about $70,000. Hotels, $25,000. $12,000 for the delegate fee that covers stuff like transportation, food, and other expenses. Visas alone were almost $700. So now the city says that DIA's enterprise fund will cover $88,000 worth of the trip cost. That is not taxpayer money. It comes from DIA fees for facility rentals, landing fees, parking, concessions, car rental charges. So it's stuff you pay, but it's not tax money. Taxpayers will directly cover about $19,000 of the trip. The city's goal is to expand more global connections. As part of DIA's Vision 100 plan, they want to get to 100 million annual passengers, just squeeze into the train a little bit more. DIA says it took about a decade of these trips and meetings before they could establish direct flights with Tokyo.
It was a political party headquarters turned liquor store. Insert your own joke here. Now it's a place where artists can showcase their work.
We still celebrate the history and acknowledge what it was.
And the most Colorado thing we saw today is the smartest deer. I mean, hooves down, the smartest. Next.
Completely ruined that nice shot that we had. Building in Aurora has seen a lot since 1932. It was an insurance, real estate office. It was headquarters for the Republicans in Aurora. It was a long-time liquor store for decades. Now artists will make it their home, a place to teach and showcase their work.
Taking something that might be a vice and turning it into a positive is always a cool thing. So surprisingly enough, this used to be a liquor store. And now it is a cultural hub, so it will be a gallery and workshop space. Primarily when this was a liquor store though, they prided themselves in it being a drive-through, and one of the first and only drive-through liquor stores. We will not be servicing a drive-through though. Anytime you're coming into a space and you're making a change and you're changing it into something that it wasn't, there's hesitation, because a part of me believes that the preservation, or when something is old, that it's more beautiful. But in this case, we could see through the floor into the parking lot, and there was just some needed things, including like light and heat, for this building to be occupied by artists. A little bit of me was hesitant, but then it was also really exciting. You know, exciting for change, exciting for a new life, exciting for a new opportunity. The opportunity that we have when artists exhibit with us to be able to tell their story. The East Colfax Corridor and Original Aurora is important to me because of all the vibrancy and the cultures that have chosen to make this place home. And we're excited to be a part of that history and a part of that story, and opening our doors to the communities that are here so that they can also make this piece of history their own as well.
The new gallery and studio will start hosting workshops next week, and the big grand opening to the public. It's Wednesday, February 22nd. We have the most Colorado thing and news of a new show coming to 9 News. That and your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a deer that's smarter than the average bear. Sherry and Jim live down in Durango. Watch next from there. We appreciate that. It's not easy in Durango. And they spotted a deer that had climbed up on a snow-covered car. Look closer and you see this is really genius stuff, because that deer up top was eating the food left on the tree when the bottom branches were pretty well picked clean. The shall we say less intellectual deer were left with quite literally the low-hanging fruit and whatever had fallen on the ground. Smart deer. Hope that car's okay. If you see something that says Colorado to you, send it our way. next@9news.com is the email, or you can use the hashtag HeyNext. Hey, a quick programming note for anybody who is streaming Next live on 9 News Plus right now. Immediately after Next ends, you're going to see a new show that is debuting tonight, The Culture Report. Some folks who work behind the scenes at 9 News are stepping in front of the camera, sharing their views on race and cultural issues affecting underrepresented communities.
I want to know from you guys, do you think the algorithm is racist? Are you blaming the algorithm?
Well, like Alexia said, if TikTok and those social media platforms have the ability to push who trends or goes viral, then I would say yes, because why aren't we seeing an equal balance of black creators being just successful and going viral as we are with white creators?
Again, that's the Culture Report. It's coming up next on 9 News Plus for everybody who is streaming live. If you have never streamed Next or 9 News through Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, etc., try it. All the cool kids are doing it. Culture Report is going to air every Thursday at 6:30, right after this program. We finish, as always, with your feedback. Darcy writes in tonight with some sartorial criticism. Says, Kyle, I have missed your vibrantly colored jackets. You have been bland lately. Bring back some color. Well, as we always say, Darcy, if you can't be interesting on the inside, be interesting on the outside. I will endeavor to be much more interesting on the outside for you. Text feedback. When Congressman Ken Buck wanted to ban TikTok, you tried to make him into an idiot. Now Senator Bennett wants to do the same thing, and you championed him. We look back over that script, and both of them were pretty straightforward. Ken Buck wants to ban TikTok. We told you about it. Senator Bennett wants to ban TikTok. We told you about it. It's kind of our job, right? Enjoy the Culture Report. See you next time.